Imagine waking up one morning feeling lighter, clearer, and more connected. Not just to your body, but to your partner, to your energy, to the vibrant version of yourself you thought might be gone for good. It might sound far-fetched, but stay with me. What if I told you that the secret to reigniting vitality, improving circulation, and restoring intimacy after 60 isn't hidden in a bottle of supplements or a high-priced clinic, but quietly waiting for you, in your produce aisle? For decades, we've been led to believe that aging means slowing down, accepting fatigue, and quietly letting go of passion and connection. But starting today, that belief is about to be turned on its head. I'm Dr. James, a men's health expert with more than 30 years of experience, and what I'm about to share with you has already changed the lives of thousands of seniors across the country. Hidden in 5 everyday vegetables is a power so natural, so effective, and so overlooked. It's helping men and women rediscover energy, rekindle romance, and reconnect with life in ways they never imagined. These aren't fads, no miracle pills, just real, accessible foods with extraordinary potential. Are you ready to uncover the life-changing secrets in your vegetable drawer? Because what's coming next may transform how you feel forever. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell, so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Beets, the circulation charger. There's something quietly powerful about beets. Their deep crimson color, earthy aroma, and the way they stain your fingertips like a reminder from nature that something profound is happening beneath the surface. For many, beets are just a side dish, a vibrant addition to a salad or a forgotten jar in the fridge. But for those willing to look deeper, especially seniors yearning to feel alive again in their own skin, beets can be the beginning of a transformation. Aging brings many beautiful things: wisdom, perspective, gratitude. But it also arrives with some quieter losses. Energy fades. Hands feel colder. Moments of intimacy are fewer and less fulfilling. The body doesn't respond the way it used to, and sometimes the heart begins to follow suit, withdrawing from closeness in ways we don't always understand. That's where beets come in, not as a cure, but as a gentle invitation to reopen the channels that have quietly closed with time. What makes beets so extraordinary for seniors isn't just their nutrient content, though they are certainly rich in folate, fiber, and antioxidants. It's their nitrate concentration, a natural compound that, once consumed, converts into nitric oxide in the body. This isn't just a buzzword. Nitric oxide is the spark that helps blood vessels relax and expand, allowing oxygen and nutrients to flow freely throughout the body. For older adults, this improved circulation is a game changer. It's what brings warmth back to cold hands and feet. It's what restores the glow to tired skin, sharpens mental clarity, and yes, it's what helps men experience stronger, more sustainable erections, and women regain sensitivity, lubrication, and ease in their most intimate moments. I remember working with a man named Walter, 72 years old, who came into my office with a quiet sadness. He wasn't sick exactly, he was just tired. Tired of trying things that didn't work. Tired of feeling like his best days were behind him. His wife loved him dearly, but they both missed the spark they once shared. I asked him to try something simple. Roast a handful of beets and eat them every day for 2 weeks. He chuckled, half skeptical, but he did it. When Walter returned, he looked different. Straighter posture, rosier cheeks. But more than that, he spoke differently, with enthusiasm. He said his walks felt easier, his sleep deeper, and his connection with his wife, physical and emotional, felt like it had shifted from routine to something alive again. This is the quiet power of beets. They don't shock the system. They restore it. They remind your blood vessels how to open up again, not just physically, but emotionally. They remind your heart what it feels like to respond, not with urgency, but with presence. And the beauty is in the simplicity. You don't need to juice them or take them in pill form. Just roast them, steam them, toss them into your salad, or blend them into a morning smoothie. The key is consistency. A little each day is enough to invite your body back into balance. Enough to say, I'm still here, I still want to feel, I still want to connect. Beets won't make you 20 again, but they can help you remember who you were at 20, not just physically, but emotionally. They open the door for desire to return gently, like an old friend. And when your circulation improves, everything else does too, from your energy to your mood to your willingness to be seen and touched again. But what if there were a vegetable that didn't just move the blood through your body, but helped balance the hormones that govern desire itself? A vegetable so familiar you've probably eaten it hundreds of times without ever knowing it, held the key to emotional balance, libido, and even laughter. Let's talk about spinach, nature's quiet hormone whisperer. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. Spinach, the hormone helper. Spinach may seem unassuming. Its delicate green leaves often sit quietly on the side of a plate or disappear into a smoothie barely noticed. But within this humble vegetable lies a deep well of power, not the explosive kind that shouts for attention, but a steady, nurturing strength that works in harmony with the body's most vital rhythms. For seniors longing not just for better health, but for a return to intimacy, vitality, and emotional closeness, spinach is a quiet healer waiting to be rediscovered. There's a moment in life, often after 60, when something subtle shifts. It's not just the body slowing down, though that happens. It's also a gradual dimming of the internal flame, that natural drive toward connection, touch, and desire. The world tells us it's normal, that it's part of aging, that the best we can do is accept it. But I've spent decades listening to men and women who weren't content with that answer. They wanted more, not in the form of a pill, but something deeper, more real. That's where spinach often surprises them. Spinach is rich in magnesium, iron, folate, and vitamin K, all of which play essential roles in hormone production, balance, and transmission. These aren't just nutrients. They're messengers that tell your body it's time to wake up. They support testosterone production in men and estrogen regulation in women, which is critical for energy, mood, and sexual function, especially in later years when those levels naturally decline. When hormone levels begin to shift, so do we. Our emotional resilience wears thin, sleep becomes fragmented, confidence dips, and perhaps most painfully, we begin to disconnect from the partners we've shared our lives with. Not because we don't love them, but because we no longer feel like ourselves. I remember a couple in their early 70s, Jack and Marlene. They were deeply devoted to one another, but something had faded between them. Their affection had turned into quiet companionship. He didn't feel desire the way he used to. She felt invisible, though she never said it aloud. They both missed something they couldn't quite name. We didn't start with anything dramatic. I asked them to add a handful of spinach to one meal a day. A smoothie, a soup, a stir-fry. That's it. Weeks passed. Slowly, things began to shift. Jack said his mind felt clearer, less foggy. Marlene started sleeping through the night again. They smiled more, they held hands without thinking. The spark hadn't roared back like a wildfire, it had returned like a slow, steady flame, one that invited warmth, connection, and possibility. The beauty of spinach is that it doesn't force change. It restores balance. It calms the nervous system. It supports adrenal function, helping the body cope with stress more effectively. It elevates mood by assisting the brain in producing serotonin, the chemical that helps us feel grounded, hopeful, and connected. And in a world where pressure and noise often overwhelm us, spinach works quietly in the background, helping us come home to ourselves. For women, spinach's iron content supports circulation and oxygen delivery, reducing fatigue and helping restore physical responsiveness. For men, magnesium improves blood flow and supports the hormonal foundation for sexual vitality. But more than that, spinach brings back clarity of presence, the feeling that you are once again inside your own body and that you're willing to open it to another person. This isn't about chasing youth. It's about reclaiming what was always yours, your right to feel, to enjoy, to connect, and to be alive in every sense of the word. So yes, that handful of leaves might seem insignificant, but over time it becomes a quiet revolution, a signal to your body and your heart that you are not done. That love, in its many forms, is still available to you. But what if I told you there's another vegetable? One so ancient and revered that cultures across the world have turned to it not just for flavor, but for fire. A root with the power to awaken desire, improve blood flow, and calm emotional tension, all in one small potent bite? Let me introduce you to garlic, the vitality booster hiding in plain sight. 3. Garlic, the vitality booster. There are some foods we reach for without thinking, a sprinkle here, a sizzle there, but few carry the quiet legacy and depth of garlic. It's been with us for centuries, tucked into recipes, rituals, and remedies across cultures. But far beyond its pungent aroma and unmistakable flavor lies a profound truth. Garlic is one of the most potent allies for rekindling energy, deepening circulation, and restoring intimacy, especially in our later years when we need that spark more than ever. Aging can sometimes feel like the slow turning down of a dimmer switch. Not a sudden change, but a quiet slipping away of things we once took for granted. Strength, endurance, warmth, and desire. The body begins to whisper, and if we don't listen, it eventually stops asking. But garlic speaks in the same quiet language. It doesn't crash through the body like a drug. It stirs it gently back to life, cell by cell, vessel by vessel, moment by moment. The real magic of garlic lies in its compound called allicin, a natural bioactive that helps increase blood flow, reduce inflammation, and improve heart health. But allicin's benefits go much deeper. It has the remarkable ability to stimulate nitric oxide production, which expands blood vessels and allows for freer, fuller circulation throughout the body, especially to areas that are crucial for physical intimacy and hormonal function. When circulation improves, so does everything else. Mental clarity, emotional resilience, the strength of erections, the sensitivity of touch, the feeling of being awake in your own body again, not just existing, but experiencing. I once worked with a retired firefighter named Sam. He was in his late 60s, sturdy in appearance but tired in spirit. He told me he missed feeling like a man, though he couldn't quite explain what that meant anymore. His relationship with his wife was solid but stagnant. The passion, he said, had simply faded away, not gone, just out of reach. I asked him to try something simple: a clove of raw garlic a day, crushed and mixed into olive oil or yogurt. It wasn't glamorous, and he laughed at the idea, but something about it felt doable. So he gave it a shot. 3 weeks later, Sam came back grinning. His blood pressure had dipped slightly, yes, but more than that, his energy had returned. He was sleeping better, feeling more present, and he said, with a bit of embarrassment, that he and his wife had shared one of the most connected nights they'd had in years. Not because they were trying to relive youth, but because they felt alive again, together. Garlic has a way of reminding the body that it's still capable, that the flame, though quiet, never truly went out. It just needed a little oxygen, a little flow. And what's more, garlic works on the mind just as much as the body. It reduces cortisol, the stress hormone that quietly builds barriers between you and the ones you love. It helps stabilize mood, calm anxiety, and foster a sense of ease, which is often the most essential ingredient in intimacy. For women, garlic helps regulate hormonal cycles and improves blood flow to the pelvic area, increasing comfort and enhancing arousal. For men, its circulatory benefits directly support erectile strength and stamina. But perhaps garlic's greatest gift is its subtle power, the way it supports healing without force, strength without pressure, intimacy without pretense. Garlic is proof that nourishment doesn't have to be loud to be life-changing. A clove a day, a simple act of care, can become a quiet turning point. And it's accessible, affordable, natural, and always within reach. You don't need to overhaul your life. Just begin where you are. Because when you feel good inside, when your heart beats stronger, your blood flows freer, your breath deepens, everything in your outer world begins to reflect that. Touch becomes warmer, words become softer, relationships become deeper. But as powerful as garlic is, it doesn't work alone. There's another vegetable, one that's bright, vibrant, and often overlooked. A vegetable that not only supports your hormonal health, but actively helps flush away the toxins and imbalances that hold you back from feeling fully present in your body and your relationship. Let's take a closer look at carrots, nature's gentle hormone balancer and unexpected key to lasting intimacy. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Carrots, the estrogen balancer. Carrots may seem too simple to be powerful, bright, crunchy, sweet. They're the kind of vegetable we often associate with childhood snacks or holiday side dishes. But within every carrot lies a quiet intelligence, a natural design that speaks directly to our hormonal balance, to the hidden rhythms that guide our mood, energy, and connection to others, especially as we grow older. Carrots don't just nourish, they cleanse. And that's what makes them so essential for those navigating the subtle and often frustrating shifts that come with age. There's something deeply personal about how our hormones change over time. It's not just physical, it's emotional, spiritual, relational. Men and women both feel it. For women, the shift might bring dryness, fatigue, or an invisible wall between them and their partner. For men, there may be a drop in drive, not just sexually, but in life itself, a heaviness in the body and mind that's hard to describe, yet easy to recognize. In both cases, it's often a result of the same thing: hormonal imbalance and the body's growing struggle to process what it no longer needs. That's where carrots step in, not as a miracle, but as a natural regulator. Carrots contain unique fibers that bind to excess estrogen and other waste hormones in the digestive tract, helping the body eliminate them efficiently and gently. This isn't just about detoxing, it's about making space for clarity, energy, desire, and emotional openness. When estrogen builds up, something that happens to both men and women, it can cloud everything. It can trigger anxiety, fatigue, mood swings, and a loss of physical desire. But when that burden is lifted, something beautiful happens. The body begins to respond again. The mind clears. Touch feels welcome. The distance between partners shortens, not through effort, but through ease. I once worked with a woman named Claire in her late 60s who told me she felt like a stranger in her own skin. "I'm here," she said, "but I don't feel present. I want to connect, but my body feels like it's forgotten how." We began with something gentle. A raw carrot salad every afternoon, just shredded carrots with a little olive oil and apple cider vinegar. It was more than a snack. It was an act of self-care, a message to her body that she was still listening. Within a few weeks, Claire's energy returned. She started laughing more, walking farther. Her husband noticed the softness in her eyes again. It wasn't magic. It was the body doing what it knows how to do when given the right support. Carrots are also rich in beta-carotene, which converts to vitamin A, a key nutrient for reproductive health, skin glow, and immune strength. They support liver function, which is essential for hormone processing. And for men, this hormone clearing effect helps free up testosterone, increasing energy, restoring confidence, and improving stamina in all the ways that matter. But beyond the science, carrots offer something emotional. There's comfort in their crunch, in their color, in their familiarity. They don't demand change, they encourage it. They remind you of your own vitality, not in a loud way, but in a way that sticks. Adding carrots to your daily routine is a small act, but one with ripples. A raw carrot with lunch, a handful of roasted slices beside dinner. It's not about restriction, it's about realignment. about gently inviting your body back to the version of itself that still exists beneath the noise of stress, fatigue, and forgotten desire. Because intimacy isn't just about physical closeness, it's about how we feel inside ourselves. And when the body feels clean, balanced, and open, so does the heart. That's what carrots offer, not just nourishment, but emotional readiness, a quiet reawakening. And just when you thought vegetables couldn't possibly hold more secrets, there's one more, often overlooked, often underestimated, but quietly working its way through the bloodstream like a gentle force of restoration. It doesn't just support your circulation, it revives it. From your toes to your heart to the places that connect you most deeply to someone you love. Let's talk about onions, nature's unexpected intimacy ally. 5. Onions, the unexpected intimacy ally. Of all the vegetables that make their way into our kitchens, onions might be the most misunderstood. They're rarely seen as the hero of a dish, more often a background flavor, a base note, a supporting role. Yet anyone who has stood at the cutting board, eyes stinging and heart somehow strangely stirred, knows that onions have a presence. Beneath their layers is a complexity that mirrors our own. Sharpness, sweetness, strength, and yes, vulnerability. And for seniors searching for a way to reconnect with their bodies and their partners, onions may just be the unexpected ally they've been overlooking. We don't usually associate intimacy with onions, but maybe we should, because intimacy, like onions, is layered. It's raw and sometimes messy. It takes time, presence, and the willingness to peel things back, slowly, gently. As we age, we often stop peeling. We accept the surface. We retreat behind routine and habit, and in doing so, we forget what it feels like to be open, to feel desire rising unprovoked, to crave not just touch, but closeness. Onions have a way of quietly reopening those doors, not with drama, but through deep biological support. Rich in allicin, the same powerful compound found in garlic, onions naturally enhance circulation, reduce inflammation, and support nitric oxide production, a key factor in blood vessel relaxation and healthy blood flow. For seniors, this means more than just cardiovascular benefits. It means increased blood flow to areas of intimacy, to the heart, to the brain, and to the places where connection truly lives. But the real beauty of onions is that they don't just serve the physical body, they nourish the emotional body too. Onions help regulate blood sugar, support adrenal function, and lower cortisol, the stress hormone that quietly undermines closeness and intimacy. When cortisol runs high, we feel anxious, distracted, closed off. When it drops, we breathe easier. We soften. We begin to feel safe again, not just in our lives, but in our own skin. I remember meeting a couple in their late 60s who had been married for over 4 decades. Their love was strong, but their connection had grown quiet. "We're best friends," the wife said, "but we haven't been lovers in years." There was no bitterness in her voice, only longing. Her husband looked away as she spoke, clearly affected, but unsure what to say. We didn't begin with hormones or therapy. We started with food, specifically with caramelized onions. I asked them to incorporate onions into their meals at least 5 times a week, sautéed with greens, added to soups, slow roasted in olive oil. Nothing fancy, just consistent. A few weeks passed, and when they returned, something had shifted. They were still best friends, but now there were inside jokes again, flirtation, blushing. They had started to rediscover something they thought had left them for good: desire without pressure. The wife said it best. "It's like something inside us turned back on." That's what onions can do, not in a single moment, but over time. They help the body remember. They awaken warmth, not just in the limbs, but in the relationship. They support circulation to the areas that bring pleasure, yes, but also to the brain, where memories of joy, affection, and closeness live. Onions remind us that food is more than fuel. It's medicine, memory, and meaning. They're available to everyone, inexpensive and endlessly versatile. You can roast them until they're sweet, blend them into sauces, or eat them raw for their most potent effect. However you choose, the important part is simply this: choose. Because each time you include a food that supports your body, you're making a decision, a choice to keep showing up for yourself and for the person you love. A quiet act of devotion. One meal, one breath, one moment at a time. And just as you begin to see what's possible with something as familiar as an onion, it's worth asking, what else in your life has hidden potential? What other ordinary, everyday choices might hold the key to something extraordinary? Because while food is the beginning, the journey toward vitality and intimacy is far from over. There's one more chapter, one that brings it all together, not in the form of a vegetable or a spice, but in a philosophy, a way of eating, feeling, and living that nourishes everything, your body, your mind, your heart. Let's explore that final step, the one that turns a meal into a daily ritual of connection and vitality. 6. How to begin your journey. Starting something new in the later chapters of life can feel both exciting and overwhelming. We often carry the weight of past attempts, of things we said we'd stick to and didn't, of promises to ourselves that quietly faded. So when the idea of changing your diet, of inviting in these 5 powerful vegetables to support your intimacy, circulation, and vitality comes along, it's natural to wonder, can something this small really make a difference? The answer is yes. But not because you're overhauling your entire life overnight, not because you're chasing youth, and certainly not because you need fixing. The real power comes from something far simpler, yet far more meaningful: intention. Choosing to nourish yourself, deliberately, consistently, and gently, is a radical act of self-respect. It's a message to your body that you haven't given up on it, that you still believe in its ability to feel alive, connected, and full of possibility. You don't need a complicated plan. You don't need to count calories or follow rigid rules. You only need to start small and from where you are. Maybe it's grating a fresh carrot into your lunch, sautéing onions with dinner, blending spinach into your morning smoothie, adding roasted beets to a salad, or crushing a clove of garlic into a homemade dressing. One action repeated is where transformation begins. The beauty of this journey is that it doesn't just change your body, it shifts your mindset. It opens you up. With time, your sleep deepens, your energy softens, your connection both to yourself and to your partner becomes more present, more relaxed, more real. You begin to realize that intimacy isn't something that disappears with age. It simply requires a little more care, a little more patience, and a little more nourishment than it did in your 20s. And as you begin to feel the difference, not in dramatic leaps, but in steady, quiet waves, you also begin to trust your body again. That trust, once broken by fatigue or frustration, starts to rebuild itself. You feel more capable, more open, more grounded, and you carry that into everything: how you touch, how you love, how you wake up in the morning. This isn't just about food. It's about what food allows you to feel, to remember, to reclaim. Because the vegetables we've talked about, beets, spinach, garlic, carrots, onions, aren't just ingredients. They are invitations to return to yourself, to reawaken what's always been there, to experience aging not as a slow fade, but as a powerful return to what matters most. But before you take the final step, there's one last thing to consider. It's not on a grocery list, and it can't be cooked or measured, and yet it's the most essential ingredient of all. Ready to find out what it is? Conclusion: a return to what matters most. If you've made it this far, you've already taken the first and most important step. You've opened yourself to the possibility that life after 60 can be full, not empty, of connection, energy, and warmth. That maybe the stories we've been told about aging being a slow decline aren't the full truth. That inside your very own kitchen, within the folds of the everyday, lies a quiet revolution waiting to unfold. Because what this journey is really about, beets, spinach, garlic, carrots, onions, is not just nutrition. It's remembrance. It's remembering that your body, even after decades of labor, heartbreak, joy, and survival, is still your home, and it is still capable of responding to nourishment, still capable of healing, still capable of desire. Too often we confuse aging with loss. We mourn energy, confidence, intimacy, and sometimes even the sense that we are still desirable, still whole. But the truth is, those things don't vanish. They go quiet, they wait, and sometimes all it takes to wake them again is consistency, kindness, and the humble magic of real food. When you start feeding your body with intention, something changes, not just biologically, but emotionally. You begin to feel more present. You notice the little things again, how your hands feel warmer, how sleep feels deeper, how laughter comes more easily. And in those small shifts, you begin to reclaim parts of yourself that never truly left. They were simply waiting to be seen, supported, and remembered. And that's the miracle, the return to yourself, to closeness that doesn't come from pressure or performance, but from presence, to intimacy that grows not from trying harder, but from feeling better. To touch that feels meaningful because your body isn't just functioning, it's alive, and it wants to connect. We live in a world that sells quick fixes and instant results. But what you've chosen here is something deeper. Sustainable well-being born from nature's wisdom. You've chosen foods that work with your body, not against it. You've chosen to listen instead of fight, to care instead of control. And in doing so, you've taken the most meaningful step toward long-lasting energy, joy, and connection. There's nothing flashy about a bowl of steamed beets or a raw carrot salad, but what they represent is powerful. They are daily reminders that you haven't given up on yourself, that you still believe in love, not just the romantic kind, but the love that says, my body is still worthy of care, attention, and pleasure. This is not about turning back the clock. It's about embracing where you are and choosing in this very moment to nourish what matters most: your health, your relationships, your vitality, and your spirit. So, what happens next? That's entirely up to you. It might look like adding one new vegetable to your plate tomorrow. It might look like making space in your day for stillness, for movement, for connection. It might be as simple as holding your partner's hand and feeling, truly feeling, the warmth between you. You are not starting from scratch. You are building on a lifetime of strength, wisdom, and love. And from this foundation, something beautiful can grow. Because the truth is, you are not too old. It is not too late. And there is more ahead. More joy, more intimacy, more energy waiting for you to say yes. So say yes. Say yes to your body. Say yes to your heart. Say yes to the life still unfolding, rich with flavor, feeling, and meaning. You deserve it. And now you're ready.